Hello and welcome back to your favorite baking channel, Baking with Chef Tonde. From our previous episode that I was showing you how to make a perfect brownie. If you remember, we were at a stage where we had gathered all the ingredients and put them in one bowl. So we will take it from there and go on until to the baking and the presentation. So we continue. We had put our flour and we will put now our cocoa powder. There we go. We put our ingredients. So what you do, you whip or you mix the sugar, the oil and the egg just enough to not to dissolve all the sugar, but all those three to bind and mix well. Don't let the sugar dissolve and disappear. You must still feel the sugar granules. When you are done with that, that is the first stage. Then the second stage is of the powder ingredients, which is the flour and the cocoa powder. Then you are mixing with my hand. So what I do, I mix. You can take a wooden spoon, or me, I like to use my palette knife because I can control it very well. So, and the spatula is just for that, of which with my palette knife I won't need this. This one, the scoop also, I'm not gonna use it because everything was scaled already. For presentation's sake, my scale away. Then we still have our chocolate nibs. So it's enough for what we have here. So when you are making remember I said we have the three types. There are three main types of brownies, like flavors. So there is the fudgy, the choc, then the chewy, the cakey. So it's a lot of flavors that you can make from the chocolate brownie. So the fudge goes hand in hand with the chocolate. If you have mint or you want to put mint nibs, you can put in. You have whatever you want almonds or walnuts, or you can put them in the chocolate brownie. But this is just the basic recipe that you use. So from this mix, it's up to you now. You want to put nuts, you put nuts. You want to put walnuts, you put. You want to put pecans, you put. But this is the basis. Then what you do, you just mix just enough for your ingredients to bind with the sugar, the oil and the eggs. So your flour and your cocoa must just be in just enough. So when you are mixing like this, you still feel the sugar is still there. It's not gone, it didn't disappear. It didn't dissolve all of it. So that sugar, the sugar will make this dough heavy. Because the brownie, we don't want it to raise. And if you remember, in our last episode, when we were introducing the brownie, we were talking about the leavening agents for raising doughs and the confection. So here we don't want our brownie to raise like a cake, like sponge, like a dough. So it's enough like this. Here is our chocolate brownie. Then at this stage, at this stage, you have to, you put now your chocolate nibs. So if you have nuts, that's when you put nuts. The reason why we put last, because we don't want those things to dissolve in. You must bake while those nibs are still intact. So we just mix them in. Then when you are baking, and when you finish baking, you cut your brownie, those nibs must still be visible. So now we just mix them in, just enough to, you don't need to crush them. So even if it's nuts, just put your nuts last. There we go. Our brownie or brownie mix. And while we are doing this, we preheated our oven. So the brownie, you bake 170, 160 for 45 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the oven. So you know how hot is your oven or how cold it is. So it depends, but just make sure you don't bake it at a higher temperature. You just bake it at a lower temperature, but for a longer time. Because at the same time you don't want your brownie to be dry. So you must make sure you bake it longer, lower temperature, then it's out. And when it's out, after baking, you must keep it away in a fridge for 24 hours, or you can say 12 hours. Then it sets nicely. Then you can now finish it off after that, of which we're gonna do all that on this channel in this episode. So we need our pen. We have our pen here. So what we do, our pen is a non-stick, as you know by now. Then, but what we want to do, we want to put a grease-proof paper, so that when we are taking out our brown, we don't struggle. We will just take that paper out in the corners, because it will fill the whole pan, like it will spread evenly. So we don't want to struggle taking it out, not that it stick, but the paper will help us. You will see how helpful it will be. So we take our piece of paper we have here, then we just measure it enough to the inside. So what we do, then we put it in nicely. And if you can see, I'm working with chocolate, but you can't tell I'm working with chocolate. Why? Cleanliness is always the thing. Cleanliness is always the thing. You must be smart and clean, and you will work nicely. So what you do, you deposit your mix. You just spread it evenly. So if you want to make it, the temperature of your oven is the secret to the texture or even the feel of your brownie. You want it to be chewy, there is a secret to it, and the secret is the oven. You want it to be cakey, the secret is to the oven and how you mix. But the flavors are determined by what you put inside. But the feel is determined by the oven. So the more you keep it in the oven, the more it loses more water. Hence, it will start becoming like a sponge. It will be dry. So you don't need, if you want a dry one, you keep it long. Depends now how you want it. But me, I like it to be damp. Then I leave it overnight in the oven, in the fridge. It cool down. Then it will stay longer even on the shelf because it still has the moisture to keep it fresh. The shelf life will be longer. The shelf life will be longer. But if it's dry already from the oven, then it will be quick dry on the shelf. So what you do, you just do like this and after this, there we go. I don't want to waste anything. Then what you do with your brownie now, with your pen, you take your pen, you heat it just for your brownie to really settle down before you put in. And also it takes all the excess air that might have been captured out, because we don't want it before we bake. Otherwise our brownie will try to rise. Because even though we didn't put leavening agents in, the egg on its own, to some extent it's a leavening agent. But because of the sugar that we didn't fully dissolve, it will make our brownie heavier and dense. That's the other secret that you must, the reason why we do what we do first. We don't overmix, we don't. So after this, we put in the oven. Our oven is ready. So we put it in the oven. There we go. We put 45 minutes. That's all. Now we are waiting for our perfect chocolate brownie. Then on our next episode, we will be doing the presentation, where we will be finishing it off, cutting it into different sizes and shapes, and showing you what else can you do with brownies. And we go on until to a stage where if you have leftover brownies, we will be showing you how to maximize on leftover brownies. You don't just throw them away. There are so many things that you can do with the leftover brownies. That is, if they are left over after being baked correctly, so they can still be used somewhere. Offcuts and everything from brownie you utilize. And we're gonna be showing you all that on our baking channel. Chef Tony signing out. Seeing you next time when we are presenting everything to you. Bye bye. Cheers. Tinotenda, tichaonana. Siyabonga. What else? Other language? There is other viewers. Magwiranjito. Tizaonan next episode. Thank you.